Peace, everybody. Welcome to Capital of Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch, and today we are going to talk about tonight's ESPN Junior Welterweight or Super Lightweight, whichever one you want to call it, title unification fight. This is going to be for the undisputed champion at 140 pounds. And we've got two really good fighters that are vying for this prestigious honor. I was looking it up, and since the four-belt era has started, there have only been 5 undisputed champions in all of the sport. So for one of them to be put in that category is going to be a big deal. Those two combatants that we're talking about are Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor. Now, I'll talk about, their skills and how they should match up, what we think is going to match up. And then after the fight, we'll do a recap where we talk about what I thought was going to happen versus what actually happened. So hit the subscribe button so you can make sure you catch that, because it's going to be a lot of good information in this video, and there's going to be some really good breakdowns of the fight after it happens. And I don't want you to miss that. Also, Rob is going to be doing some videos on the heavyweight title picture, which over the last week has become a little more murky. But there's going to be a lot of closure involved, especially involving the fighters Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. So look forward to that. And like I said, hit the subscribe button so you can catch it. Now let's talk about this fight. So we got Jose Ramirez, who is coming off of a win against Victor Postal late last year. Josh Taylor, who had a first-round knockout early knockout against a fighter, but before that, he won the World Boxing Super Series versus Regis Prograis. So we got two guys who have been in there with some high-level competition, and I know that a lot of people are basing their fights against Postal to pretty much judge how this fight is going to go. However, I am not in agreement with that, because Postal is a completely different fighter than both of these guys. Ramirez likes to use his feet to bounce back and forward. He gets a good range on his shots, and he will unleash some combinations with a lot of power. A lot of people just call him a come forward fighter, but he's a lot smarter than that. And they kind of do it dismissively, and he's too good for that. The guy's undefeated. He has a high knockout ratio, and he doesn't waste punches. His jab, which is something that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, is highly underrated. It is lightning quick, it is precise, and it will throw people off of their game plan and off of their spot when he needs it to be. He also throws, like I said, in combination. They're fast combinations. He's not out there throwing like Sugar Ray Leonard, but all of his punches have bad intentions and they are technically sound. It's not going to be like a wide hook coming from out here. Everything is tight. He's bringing to the body and to the head, and it's coming knuckles to body or face. So that's something that Taylor's going to have to look out for. The combination punching and the power of Ramirez. Now, both of these guys have outstanding chins because they both have faced some punchers and came out victorious after taking solid direct blows from those guys. Prograis was and still is a very powerful knockout puncher, and Taylor was able to withstand a lot of solid shots from him. Shots that lesser fighters would have been stopped by. Same thing from Ramirez. He went up against Maurice Hooker. Victor Postal hit him with some very good shots as well. And he never looked to be in any type of trouble in those fights. So what we expect from these guys is for Ramirez to pressure Taylor, and not in the traditional sense A lot of people are saying, he needs to get on the inside. He needs to rough Taylor up. But that's not really what he does in that sense. He's not an inside fighter like, say, a Bernard Hopkins, Andre Ward, Ricky Hatton. He's not in that range. He is more so at the close to mid-range where he can land very fast, very quick combinations, but he stays in your face and in position to punch with you, before you, and after you. Like, he is a guy that will control the tempo of a fight. That's how he does his pressure fighting. Taylor is no slouch to inside fighting, and I'm talking like really inside. Like, he did some great work against Regis Prograis, and I was very impressed by that. So if he can close that distance and get some shots off and then get out and move laterally before Ramirez can start his volleys, he can pile up points in that way. He can also use his very educated jab. These are both high-level, technically sound fighters. Both of them were world-class amateur athletes, and they have shown to be world-class professional athletes, seeing as how they have unified titles together. And now they're unifying all of the titles when they fight each other. Taylor is going to have to use lateral movement. He can't just go straight back, which is something he doesn't really do. But he is going to have to temper the attacks of Ramirez with that strong jab, with that lateral movement, and with that inside game to where he can smother Ramirez's shots and get off before Ramirez does. Ramirez will need to force Taylor into a firefight more often than Taylor wants to. Taylor is a guy that is not shy about getting in there and exchanging with his opponent, but he is best served to be at a long range and pop Ramirez with the jab, with the long left hand, because he's a southpaw, and counter right hooks both to the body and to the head. He can work the body very well, which he showed against Postal and Prograis. So if he can try to slow Ramirez down a little bit, that could help. Now, I haven't really seen that slowdown in Ramirez. He is usually a guy that, as the fight goes on, he can get stronger. He can win those late rounds, and he can win them with emphasis. And Taylor has kind of shown where he can coast a little bit. Like in the second half of his fight with Prograis, he didn't do as well as he did early on. However, he stayed in there enough to still bring about the victory. With Ramirez, I don't know if that can be the case. Like I said, both of these guys have solid chins. However, there's only so much you can take of those solid shots before they hurt. Take Ramirez versus Hooker. I mean, they engaged in a firefight, and Ramirez caught him, and just like that, he had him finished. He was able to stun Postal on several occasions as well during those exchanges. So Taylor cannot go in there trading punches with Ramirez, because Taylor really doesn't throw a lot of quick, fast combinations like Ramirez does. So Ramirez is going to be able to get off several shots before Taylor can get his off. He may be able to get one or two. Ramirez is going to get 4+ if he stays in there. And that's going to be the key to victory for Ramirez. How this is going to go, be honest with you all, got no clue. Both guys have a strong case to win this fight, which is why it is so intriguing and why you should tune in. I don't know how this one's going to go. I'm leaning towards Taylor. I'm leaning that he could get those early rounds in and be able to coast to the victory. But I don't know, man. Ramirez could catch him, and everybody has a good chin until they get that one good shot. Doesn't matter how strong your chin is, you catch a couple flush shots, and it's gonna be a wrap for you. Ramirez could end up outworking him. Another thing to consider: this is Taylor's first fight on the big stage outside of his home area. He's fought in the United Kingdom primarily, and he has fought in the United States, but they were smaller fights. This one is for all the marbles and an area that is going to be heavily pro Ramirez. Boxing is pretty tribal, and the Hispanic community is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, fight fans when it comes to boxing. I mean, that and football, soccer for us Westerners, or Americans, I should say, because everywhere else but the U.S. calls it football. We call it soccer. That's neither here nor there. Josh Taylor is going to be up against it in a hostile crowd with people that anytime Ramirez throws something, anytime he lands something of any consequence, they're going nuts. They're probably going to boo him coming in. He's going to have to be able to temper that along with Ramirez, because a lot of people don't take that into consideration. That is a big factor dealing with that outside noise, and only the creme de la creme can block that out. If you all are mixed martial arts fans, that just happened to Chinese flyweight champion Zhang Weili when she fought Rose Namajunas. She said the crowd got to her, and this is a world champion. It can happen. Like I said, you have to be the top of the top to not have that bother you, or maybe have it feed like, oh, you guys are gonna root for him. All right, I'm gonna shut you up. Think like a Floyd Mayweather. Andre Ward has done that when he had to go travel during the Super 6. It can happen. Tyson Fury, even though he brings a crowd with him, so did Ricky Hatton. He could fight in the United States and the crowd would be pro them, which is amazing. I don't know if Josh Taylor's going to have that type of support when they fight. So if you really want to twist my arm, I'm going to go with Taylor by a controversial decision. But I can see it going the other way, being Ramirez for a controversial decision. A lot of the fighters and I guess pundits that I watched prior to this are picking Ramirez. Vegas odds have Taylor as the favorite. Taylor does have a little bit more polish. He does have that more, I guess, acceptable style. But Ramirez is a dog. But Taylor is too. So that's why this one is so hard to call. If it does end early, I'm thinking it's going to be more so Ramirez that ends it early. If Taylor ends it early, man, that is going to be an impressive thing if he can end it early. Which is why they fight the fights. So tune into this one. Hit me up in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Rob or myself will respond to you. We like to chop it up with the fans. We like to chop it up with knowledgeable people about the sport. So let us know what you think. Who do you think is going to win? How do you think they're going to win? What type of intangibles do you think are going to play a factor in this fight? Let us know. Follow us on social media, Capital of Combat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of it, Capital of Combat. And like I said, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and stay tuned for the recap and our subsequent videos. Look forward to talking to you. Until the next video, fight on.
This round one, and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is coming and cost. My fists are on fire. I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage. Keep thinking that it's a game. I kick ground, hurricane. I told them I don't play. play. I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.